All right, hello everyone. How are we doing? Just gonna adjust my screen here before we move forward. All right, so welcome so much to Making Sense of Online Marketing for Restaurant Owners. I am personally very excited for this conversation today. My family owns a small restaurant and brewery here in Loveland, Colorado, and so I am ecstatic to be hosting this webinar for you guys and to have this conversation with our very special guest that we'll introduce to you in just a moment. But navigating the highs and lows of running a small business is never really been uncharted territory for restaurant owners or people within the restaurant industry, right? But with the 2020 pandemic, as that hit and continues to heavily affect guidelines, regulations, capacity, health codes, etc., the list goes on and on, right? Into 2020, restaurants have really had to adapt, adjust, and transform the way that they've been communicating with their patrons. We all know that. Which means that restaurants have had to get wildly creative in order to stay open and power through the new year. So one of their biggest tools, is online marketing, their online marketing strategy. And whether you're just getting started with online marketing or not seeing the results that you have hoped for, today is really about helping you make the most sense of it all. So that's what we're trying to do. We're here to help you easily understand and navigate the world of online marketing and hopefully help you understand the fundamentals so that you can get the most out of the tools that you're using and that are available to you. So let's take a look at a few stats to begin with. In fact, 77% of patrons check a restaurant's website before even visiting. So this is huge, right? When we're searching for a business or particularly restaurants, people are going to go to your restaurant or to your website and they're going to look for information. So we want to make sure that that information is clear and that we're communicating in a really strong way and having a really strong web presence. And then especially within the 2020 year, 79% of millennial demographics have ordered takeout online. So making sure that new services and new offerings that we've come up with are easily available for especially kind of that stronger millennial demographic. So today what we're going to discuss, let's talk a little bit about the agenda that we have for today. So again, we were talking a little bit about how we have to get creative in using our online marketing strategy to get the most success and to reach our goals. And so in order to do that, today we're going to talk about how people find you online, how to set yourself up for success. So we'll talk about the tools that will help you accomplish that. And last but certainly not least, how it all comes together. We don't want to forget how we tie all of those things together and make it a really strong strategy for our restaurants, right? Okay, so with that being said, today, my guest speaker here is going to help me have this conversation. Let me introduce you to him. His name is Andrew Jaffee, and he's very well known in the restaurant industry. He comes from Rail Media, and he has from 25 years in the restaurant industry, from operations to HR, to being a consultant to the CFO. He's really done it all. He's done casual dining, he's done fine dining, and he's done a lot of consulting with lots of different restaurants. And so I am excited to have him on today. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate the laud. I feel taller after your description of me.
Very nice. Well, we are excited to have you on today and for you to share your expertise. I think it's really going to bring a lot to the conversation. So thanks for being here. And then for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jenna Schaefer. I'm a programs marketing manager here at Constant Contact. So again, thanks for having us and spending your time with us today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First and foremost, we're going to talk about how people find us online. So before we jump into the details and give you some hints and tips for that, I want to go ahead and take a poll from our audience today. So go ahead and tell me, and we've launched that poll for you, which marketing channel is most effective for driving new patrons and referring business to your restaurants? In your experience as someone who is attending the webinar today, what have you found to be the most useful and effective channel of marketing to find new business coming into your restaurant? So go ahead and click on the items there in that poll and let us know what you think. And the results we'll share in just a moment. And while we wait for those results to come in, Andrew, do you have any initial thoughts of what you think we'll see in this poll today?
Well, I didn't get to vote, but if I did, I would have, and maybe it's transparent because I'm working with Constant Contact, but email marketing is by far the one that I think has the most potency. And it's the business that I run currently, and it was where I had success as a restaurant operator. So we'll see.
Right.
I look forward to seeing the results.
Yeah, let's go ahead and launch the poll results to the audience. I think it's pretty interesting what we're seeing here now. All right. So we have whopping 55% said social media has been most effective when they're trying to find new patrons and referring business to their restaurants. So that's impressive. Next up is what Andrew predicted was 27% with email marketing, 9% with SEO tools, and 5% paid ads. And then along with 5% listing and reviews as well. So very interesting results. I would have to agree with Andrew there. I personally feel like email marketing is kind of the glue to your marketing strategy. But we're definitely going to talk about many of these different aspects today, and and dive into how we can most effectively use these tools to create a cohesive marketing strategy for you all. So in order to understand how online marketing works for you and your restaurant, and how important it is to helping you be found online, regardless of which channel is most effective for you. So most everybody said social media, but if you found other channels to be most effective for you, the reality is that all of these channels really do work together to support each other in some sort of way. Okay, so whether you find it being social media or email marketing or SEO tools, the reality is that they all have to work together in order to really get the most bang for your buck. So first, let's discuss how people find you online so we can start to see how all of these channels may impact your restaurant, because the more that you can do with your restaurant to stay top of mind and make it easy for others to talk about your business, the more that you increase the chances of people recommending you or seeking you out online, especially when they need what you offer. So regardless of whatever channels work best for you, beyond being a part of the conversation, you must understand what people may find when they are referred to your restaurant and they go looking for you. So the first way, so typically there are two different ways that somebody is going to find you online. And the first way is when they go into an organic search using keywords or phrases that are specific to what you serve or what you offer at your restaurant. An example of this could be brunch restaurants near me, right? Or bottomless mimosas in my area, or best Italian's restaurant in insert your city, correct? Andrew, can you talk a little bit about some strategies to come up with some more generic searches? What some best practices would be when people are trying to search organically for a restaurant that serves what they're looking for?
Yeah, this is probably one of the most difficult things for restaurant operators to even achieve, and it's search engine optimization. Ideally, when you set up your website, which I think we're going to talk a little bit more about later, so I don't want to get too deeply into it now, you're going to set up data on your site that identifies you with the keywords. So one of the ways you can do that is to go and see with how you think people should find you and make searches, and note where you show up on the search protocol that comes up, and then do different searches and see where your competitors are coming up. And those are the terms that you're going to want to try to build into any of the search engine marketing and optimization you might do. This is a very sophisticated challenge for even the best marketers. And so you have to be pretty focused, but there's a lot of support out there. Google offers it because of their ads program. They want to make sure you're doing things right. So it's doable. But it really is understanding the way people will search for you and how you want to be searched, and matching those two things together so that you get the results you're looking for.
I love that. I love doing a search of what you think people might be searching you by, right? So those keywords or those key phrases, and oftentimes we kind of fail to look at when we start to type into Google and it pre-predicts some of those questions for us. A lot of people don't think about that's something that you can use, right? That's what people are searching for. And so utilize those suggestions to, like Andrew said, really kind of boost that SEO search terms and in using those tools. So
And
I
just
love
one
that.
other thought, which leads to another part of this, just to add it in. When it comes to paid advertising, which I know we're going to discuss at some point, knowing what the keywords that do work for you are also becomes an advantage in that. So it's not wasted work. It's not just for the purpose of SEO. You made a point earlier, Jenna, about how everything is integrated. And this is a perfect example of good work done to your SEO also makes it easier for you to succeed on your ad purchases.
Great, I love that. So in this example, talking a little bit about the SEO tools and search terms and things like that. In this example, some of the search results that we see here are from Google My Business listings or articles driven by review sites, and then some common questions asked by searches. So this is what you may see, or what somebody may see is when they search for you by those generic terms or those generic keywords. And we'll talk a little bit more about messaging on your website and content best practices that a little later. But answering questions for potential diners is going to be key in getting found online. So this is a little bit of an idea of what people may see when they search for you with those key terms or phrases. The second way that you'll potentially get found online is when somebody specifically searches for your establishment or your restaurant, whether they were referred to you by somebody that they know, or maybe they saw some sort of Facebook post. What they're going to do is they're going to go to Google and they're going to search in your exact restaurant name or something there pretty close. And this is what they may see specifically when they type in that restaurant name. So we're going to see a little bit more of paid and organic searches, so paid ads or organic searches. We might see that Google My Business listing specific to your restaurant, and then different delivery options, social profiles, listings, and reviews. Andrew, can you talk a little bit more about the results that we should see when somebody does a direct search? What's imperative for a restaurant to make sure that's displayed on this page when somebody does a direct search for their business?
Right. So, a lot of times it's as simple as again, the website data. Your name needs to be in the metadata because it won't always necessarily be clear from your URL. So myrestaurant.com, you might have a restaurant that has barbecue and grill, but you don't have that. So you want to, inside your metadata, have the metadata is what's associated to your site that is searched by Google when a search is initiated. So you need to have that tuned to what you want to be seen as. Your full name is one of those things. But more importantly than that, because that should happen, your name is part of your presence on your site, is the listings, the Google My Business listings, which Google will fill that data in for you. They don't care if they get it right. They just want to populate it because to them it's more important to have a listing. But they give you the opportunity to claim it. We will be discussing this later when we talk about search sites and some of the local search opportunities. But this is an example of why it's so crucial you claim your profile and make sure that you control the image, the data, the phone number, the hours, the other information to attract as many people from that as possible. It's rare not to get that. If the restaurant is open and functioning, something will populate it, either whether you do it or not.
Great recommendation. So what if some of these assets are not displaying when some of the audience members that we have today, if they go and they want to see what's popping up when they do a direct search for their restaurant and some of these assets are not showing up, what are some recommendations that you have for them?
Well, again, so if it's in the search return and they're not paying for paid advertising, they won't be at the top because the paid advertising always populates the top. They'll be somewhere below there. So you're never going to be number one unless you pay for it, which is fine. But there's still a distinction between paid and organic. People are fairly savvy at seeing it since it says ad quite clearly on the listing. So you want to be at the very top. If your name isn't available for the site to be searched in your metadata, you won't be searched. So if people know you as Andrew's Bar and Grill, you got to have that data in there. Otherwise, unless that name is clearly enunciated in your URL and your website address, you won't get found. Beyond that, it really comes down to whether you want to compel yourself to be at the top by doing other things to get support, whether it's blogging or other ways your content can be apparent when searched. The more you are searched, the more readily you come up at the top of search, so that it follows you. As you were alluding to earlier, Jenna, when you start to type something in, it auto-populates based on prior searches. So this is how you find out how you're perceived by Google, and you do everything you can to make sure that that is delivered when somebody makes the search.
Wonderful. Thanks for those recommendations. And to your point, here's the reality. If you're not online, whether it's like Andrew said, through your website or social channels or review sites, if you're not online with the correct information, with keywords that are going to drive people to your business, prospects and customers aren't going to be able to find you. So even more importantly, we want to make sure that in addition to that correct information and updated information, that we are answering questions that people have about our business along the way and providing value. We're providing content and resources for our patrons. So when somebody asks, is this the restaurant that I want to dine with? Is this a restaurant, especially nowadays, is this a restaurant that's safe to dine with? Is this the type of food that I want to eat today? That we're leading those diners to our establishment because we're answering those questions for you. So if we want to be found and start building relationships, we have to show up where people are looking. We have to start answering those questions, and we want to be able to provide resources to aid those potential diners and patrons with making decisions with us. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how to set yourself up for success. When somebody decides that they want to interact with you, there are going to be 5 tools that you need as a part of your marketing strategy that are really going to help you set up for success and help you see results, real business results. So today we're going to talk about these 5 tools. First and foremost is a mobile responsive website, email marketing, picking a primary social channel, listings and reviews and how to properly maintain those types of platforms, and an easy way to create content that, again, will help you get found. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first tool, which is having a mobile responsive website. This is really going to serve as a home base for your business for all of your other marketing activities, because in a lot of cases, you'll be the one, those will be linking back to your website. So we want to make sure that we have a really good experience with our website. More than half of the visitors to your website will make an immediate judgment on whether they want to do business with you based off of the experience that they have. So if your website is not mobile responsive, so here we have our website. If it's not mobile responsive, meaning they can still see it, but they have to scroll back and forth, zoom in and out, it's not going to be a really great experience for them. What we do want to have is a mobile responsive website, which means that it reacts, reorders, and it responds to the device that it's being read on. This will create a more friendly experience for people. It'll help them find your messaging quicker, and it'll help drive more action this way. So what I'd like to do is have Andrew speak a little bit more about the importance of having the right messaging on your website and on your mobile responsive website, and the different types of pages that restaurants should have on those websites. So Andrew, could you speak a little bit more to what you've seen different restaurants message on their websites and what has brought them success in terms of the kind of information that they're sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. Your website is probably the least cared for part of your marketing in general, because many folks started websites 10, 12, 15 years ago and haven't updated them really significantly in a long period of time. And most of those older sites are non-responsive. The point Jen is making about responsivity is crucial to success with your web page, because quite frankly, some inordinate number, I think it's in the 70s, is the percentage of restaurants that are searched mobile in some form. A lot of times it's the listing services or a local search app that they're doing it on, but many times they can access your website from that app. If they click the link button, they're going to your site. And if your site is non-responsive, as Jen made clear, you make it more difficult for somebody to interact with you. The idea behind the responsivity is to say, wherever the guest wants to interact with me, I want to be able to do so effectively. So the beauty of it is most of the site providers that are building sites that are templated these days make them mobile responsive for you. And these upgrades are extremely inexpensive. I know that's a weird way to say it, but websites used to be so extraordinarily costly, and operators were putting together 5-6 figure numbers to build websites. Well, that world changed. Now you can go to, I think Constant Contact actually has a web-based website building system where you pick a template, looks like a restaurant, you add your own images, and within a few hours, you can have a functioning site. What should be on that site is the second question, but by answering the first question, where responsivity is somebody else's job, and that's why it's good to use a platform to do it, because they upgrade for you. You don't have to worry about constantly saying, oh my God, my website has to be upgraded again. What's PHP? I don't understand this stuff. And so you leave that to a third party. It doesn't demonstrably increase the cost of running your site, but it absolutely makes it stay more relevant over time. So thoughtfully approaching who you choose and where you host becomes an important aspect of this responsivity and maintaining it and sustaining it. Now, once you've built your site, what goes on? And this is the mistake a lot of operators make. So for example, if somebody clicks through from Yelp and they hit your website button and they arrive on your site, you can know where that person is coming from, where the referral is coming from. And you can build into your website that when that happens, a specific page is loaded. These are the things you can do, the kinds of things you can do to say, I know this person's coming from Yelp. I'm going to build out a page that is a special Yelp offer, so that I know when people are coming from Yelp, that I can then say, hey, you're searching for me. Get a free dessert if you search just on Yelp. And you give them a reason to come in. It's a call to action. That's only one way of doing it. But ultimately, you want your website to inform. You want it to serve. So you want to have online ordering as an example. If you do live music when you can, you would have a schedule of some sort. You've got to give people the information they're coming to you for. For example, I go to menus all the time on websites that are just terrible, impossible to navigate. Make your menu easy to read, easy to access, and have all the information on it. I'm a fan of putting pricing on. Some folks have different opinions about that, but that's the other kinds of decisions you can make about sustainability. So if you have an item on there and you don't want it to go cold on age, you don't put a price on it. But ultimately, you're going to have to maintain your site a little bit in the long term. So whether it's uploading pictures from an event, so people are going to come and see themselves, or an event they were at, these kinds of content are really important. Menu functionality is by far the single most important one you'll work with today, because everybody has to do carryout to survive. So if you want to focus on anything, I would say building a call to action, whether it's a special offer upon arrival, or there's facilities where you can put pop-ups on that make those offers, and online ordering, whether you're using a third-party service or you're facilitating it through your own site. You've got to do this to be able to stay competitive. It's got to have multi-functions to meet what the guest wants, and different guests come for different reasons. That's why you have multiple pages to address all the different reasons people come to visit your site.
That's all really great information. A couple of things I want to touch point on that you said, talking about the accessibility of updating your website. I know when COVID hit, and our family, we were using a website builder that was not particularly easy for us to use, and we actually switched over to Constant Contact so we could change it right away, and it was extremely easy. But to your point, it doesn't have to be difficult, and you can do it really, really quickly if you have the right tools. So I know that you mentioned Constant Contact has a web builder. If you want to learn a little bit more about the web builder, Stephanie did put in the chat a link to be able to learn a little bit more about that. But you can also go to our blogs at constantcontact.com. We have a lot of really great articles about how to build a website, best practices about that. But to your point, Andrew, I think right now, especially having an accessible menu, making it easy for people to order, and just giving them the resources to do that, that lends itself to what we were saying earlier about answering questions that your patrons might have, right? They're going to ask themselves, is this the right restaurant for me? So if you're making those things accessible, easily to use, and you're being really clear with that message and answering those questions, then that's going to be really helpful for them in making those decisions. So wonderful recommendations. Thank you so much for that. In addition to Andrew's recommendations, we highly recommend that you add a sign-up form to your website, because unfortunately, not everybody is going to stay on the website or take action. Sometimes they won't even return to your website. And so we want to make sure that we still have a way to connect with them and build relationships with them and continue communication with them. And so this is a great way when you're offering a website to collect those email addresses, and now you own that contact and you have different ways to engage with them in the future, especially through other channels. So Andrew, do you have any recommendations on building your list, or any resources or tools that you've found restaurants being successful in building or growing their list?
Absolutely. Bribery. It's the best way to get an email address.
I love that.
Right in your offer, where here we say, it says, don't leave us hanging. You offer some sort of a giveaway, a free soda with your lunch, an appetizer on us. It is so easy to do because you have an autoresponder. Again, Constant Contact has these built in. So when you're making your marketing decisions, when this form registers this new subscriber, it automatically sends them a welcome email that has this coupon in it. So you're saying, we're going to give you a free hot dog. And then seconds later, after they finish it, they get the letter that says, here's your free hot dog. So people are motivated by their own needs and self-interest, and that's humanity. So it's not a bad thing to give away a product that might cost you $1, $2, $3, because that email address, as Jenna said, it's the most, I would say, make the argument, it's the single most valuable piece of information you can get. There's a couple of reasons, we'll talk about that during email, and I will wax so poetic about my love of the email address. But it's worth buying them, basically.
Definitely, and I found success running contests too. So I know not this past holiday season, but the season before that, we did during the holiday season, we did a Secret Santa sweepstakes. So it was sign up for our email list, and each week we're going to draw a winner for a Secret Santa gift. And so we did different giveaways and contests and things like that. And so to your point, incenting people to sign up for your email list, either for something for free or some sort of value that they get for giving you that information, that's when you're going to see the most success with it.
Right, and it excuses you to communicate with them again. So it kills two birds with one stone. It creates engagement as well as collects the email address. And that's how you want it to be. You want to engage guests. I have a sort of a quote that I share with people when I'm talking about online marketing. It's super simple. Engage people where they are with the content that they want, and you will get their attention.
I love that. Wonderful. So to your point, Andrew, you mentioned something about having some sort of welcome series with providing whatever offer that you gave them for their email address. And that's leading directly into our next point, which is introducing email marketing to your audience in the right way and welcoming your audience with what we suggest a 3-part series, but you can use a tool called autoresponder, or sometimes they're called drip campaigns. But essentially, this is a series that you can set up that's automatically sent to your audience once they subscribe to your list. So now that you've collected these email addresses, we started to build a list. We can talk a little bit more about email marketing, its role in your online marketing strategy. So First things first, we want to communicate via email. It can be a sensitive interaction, so we want to make sure that we make a really good first impression and that we are setting expectations correctly with our audience. So the first email that you want to make sure that you send out is a welcome email. And like Andrew said before, this is where you would specifically give them the offer that you entice them with to sign up for their email list. So whether that's a discount to hot dogs or a free appetizer, whatever that may be, this is where you would do that. Most likely you've offered something, so make sure that you also give them the offer, but that you're thanking them in this email. So just like you would in person, you want to thank them for giving them or giving their information over and participating in your email list. It's just kind of etiquette and being polite. The second email that you want to do is an invitation to connect. So we'll talk a little bit about this in a second, but really the party is on social media, right? That's where people are talking, that's where they're conversating, but we want to, email is a way to invite them to that party. And so we want to make sure that they know where they can connect with us so that we can think about our next interaction with them. And then the third email, so the third email could just be continued education, it could be continued resources, it could be ways that you are providing additional information to your audience, whether that's events that you're having or just more special information about your restaurant, what makes you different, what makes you a destination. This is where you would continue that communication. And we typically say you want to email somebody at least once a month. And then from there, once you start segmenting your list, you can probably do a little bit more than that, but at least once a month with that continued information, continued education, what's going on with your restaurant. That's going to be your third and beyond emails there. So Andrew, besides specials and discounts, how do restaurants keep emails interesting? Because I know I personally try to not always, hey, we're having this promotion or this special or these discounts. Do you see any restaurants using other techniques other than discounts and offers to keep their emails interesting and keep people on the list?
Absolutely. I mean, I work primarily with sports themed operators. So sports bars, just as a very direct and easy to look at example, they've got a conversation they can have around sports. And so whether it's come join us for this specific game or a promotion that surrounds sports specifically, that they're able to get people's attention because that's where the guest wants to engage with them. It's powerful. But there are some other fun things you can do if you don't have sports as an excuse to talk. So one of the great things that happened during the whole of the pandemic as it started is a lot of restaurants started giving away the recipe to their most loved and famous items. And everybody thought, what are you, crazy? These people will just make it themselves. Do you know Americans? They'll still come to eat your food. They're going to be happy to do it. They want somebody else to make it. Restaurant dining has become an inherent part of our culture. But I wanted to stay in touch with somebody who's a good customer. I'll send them that recipe. I'll do a video to show them how to do it so that they feel connected to me. So it doesn't have to be a special or an offer. It has to be a way of engaging the guest. So if you're fine dining, you've got real recipe and food recommendation, wine conversations you can have. If you're a family place, you've got subject matter that's going to be interesting to kids, and you can focus on that in the conversation that you're having. It really is understanding again, asking the question of your guests, what are you interested in? Or knowing it because you're engaged with them on the floor or seeing their feedback whenever you have an opportunity. But it doesn't have to be just discounts. In fact, I would suggest discounts in the long term are a lousy strategy. You cheapen your own value. And if you can attract people with a mix of special offers and events, do a wine dinner or a special beer tasting or an evening with a brewer, and learn how to make a batch of beer. And they come in, your folks have the brew pub. Learn how to make a batch of beer. You have it's a beer dinner where you try beer, but also stir the mash and do some of the fun stuff with that. But find a conversation to have. You're trying to become friends with somebody. Think of it as you speaking to an individual. Jenna, nice to meet you. you're in the beer business. I love beer. Can we talk about beer? And we have a conversation. That's literally how you do it with your email marketing. Figure out what the guest wants to talk about and talk about it.
I love that. Yeah, we definitely tried to your point, connect with them in different ways other than just discounts and offerings, but more education. So you mentioned come and brew with the brew masters. We did a come and beat the brewers. So they could come and challenge the brewers to, it was, you know, arm wrestling one week and cornhole the next. And so, yeah, it was, if you beat the brewers, then you got a beer for free. So it was kind of a fun way to keep people engaged. But a lot of people don't know about those events or about those happenings. So it was a great way that we could connect with them and share the things that we're doing at our establishment. So I love those ideas. Great. So I want to talk a little bit about the power of email and social together, because when the conversation of email marketing comes up, I typically, and Andrew, I don't know if you get this as well, but I typically get people asking me questions like, well, isn't email kind of archaic, or isn't it a little outdated? Like, there are so many other types of channels, especially with social media, that I could be engaging people on. Is it really worth my time to build an email list and to send out emails and to really figure out a strategy around that? And my answer to that is yes, it is worth your time, just like anything. So email marketing is one of kind of the older tools or channels of online marketing, but just like anything classic or vintage, if it has a place in a modern society, if you find the right purpose for it, then it has its own role, and it can be really, really useful. And so email marketing is exactly that. We're not saying just use email marketing, we're saying use it with the other tools like social media to really enhance your results and to maximize your success. And so the power of email plus social can really turn your audience into a community. So this is a great way. As I said before, one of my colleagues, Dave, he's the director of content. He always says that social media is the party, but email marketing is your invitation to the party. And so where email marketing, it has an audience, what you're doing with that is you're taking your audience, directing them to social, to then become a community really around your business. And so it can be really useful and really valuable in that sense. It's a great way to get them to not only connect with you on social, but also with each other, again, creating that community. And then it also is a great way to overcome algorithms. So oftentimes on social media, if you ask people to like, comment, and share, you can actually, those posts can be deemed as unauthentic. And sometimes you can get penalized for that. So you can use email marketing as a way to start conversations with your audience, then drive them to social to go and have those conversations without, creating those authentic conversations without you being penalized for it. And so it's a great way. You can prompt a question in your email, or you can start a conversation and say, go to our latest post to tell us what you think, right? And so they're driven to those social platforms to then engage with you more. So we're thinking about those additional interactions. So just wanted to take a moment to really kind of share my thoughts around email plus social, because I think it can be really, really valuable in supercharging that word of mouth around your business. When it comes to social media, again, we want to use email plus social to supercharge that word of mouth. But we want to discuss how to effectively interact with your audience on social platforms. So first and foremost, don't feel like you have to be on every single one, managing all of these different platforms every single day. What you do want to do is make sure that you're claiming all of your profiles on all of those channels, even if you're not active on them, so you can own that conversation, but really choose one channel to start with that makes the most sense for you and your audience, and engage with them there. And I'm not going to go through each of these channels. You'll get the recording so you can pause at this screen and think about what you want to do and where your audience is. But social media can be effective as long as your audience is there. So where should we be? Again, claim all of your listings, but start with one channel that's most effective for you. What I do want to ask is, Andrew has some thoughts around social media. what social platform would you say that is most imperative for restaurants to focus their energy towards, and why?
So that's a little bit of a nuanced question. The easy answer is Instagram by far is the most accessible, and because of their use of hashtags and because it's exclusively image built and video built, it is an expectation on the parts of guests that they're going to see great food images or event images or video from that platform. Recently, TikTok has actually shown some great results, and it's because the platform's new, and so restaurants are able to get noticed on it. And one of the important parts of the conversation surrounding sort of the difference between email and social is that email address, when you get it and you integrate it, you suggest they follow you on your social platform, you own that address. Nobody else owns it. You have it. You never have to ask anybody's permission to speak to it. You have total control, and that person has to see your name and message when it arrives to their inbox. With social, a lot of times you have to pay. So with Instagram, because Instagram has the hashtag search system, it's easier to get found for your products to get looked at. And it's also because, again, it's a visual space, you can link to it and send people there so they can see your images very quickly. You don't have to even have a gallery, let's say, of your own stuff on your site. There are simple integrations, Constant Contact's website, I'm sure, website builder, I'm sure it has it, where your Instagram content can be featured right on your site. So you're killing two birds with one stone. When you post to Instagram, you can also be posting onto your website with new content images that bring value to the people that visit. So this is how you try to streamline and make efficient the work you have to do to support your online reputation and marketing, but you do so in a way where you're not duplicating efforts and you still keep sustained and relevant content available. So Instagram, I would say, is the hands down favorite. Snapchat's had some success, but they're now monetizing, so I don't know if that will change. And TikTok is actually a fun spot to really have some entertaining opportunities to talk to guests.
Everything's always monetizing, right? Nothing can be free anymore.
Sure.
Great, wonderful recommendations. Something that may also help you try to decide where you should be and how and what you should post. Typically, we say that social media posts fall under 3 different buckets. So that could be posts trying to drive awareness around your business, who you are, what you do, engaging your audience to just interact with you, answering questions with them, common questions that you may get about your restaurant or behind the scenes type stuff, just getting them engaged and involved, and then really trying to drive action. So think about one of these 3 buckets. That's going to help you come up with the content that you'll want to post on those channels. So I'm going to start, I want to leave a little bit more room for questions today. So I'm going to move on from social media and we're going to jump into listings and reviews, which is our next tool. And this is a marketing channel that we often overlook, but that referrals typically interact with. So if somebody hears about your restaurant, they're referred to your restaurant, they're going to go to your website to learn more about you, but they're also going to go to listings and reviews to see what other people are saying about you. So it's really important to have some sort of response strategy in place. Andrew, do you have any suggestions about the listing and review platforms that people should be on?
Right, so there's a lot, but there are really 3 that dominate most of the space. Yelp, which everybody knows, the Google business listings, and TripAdvisor. And the reason I mentioned TripAdvisor is because I would imagine of the folks that are on today, some of them are in either resort or high tourist traffic areas. And TripAdvisor almost always gets forgotten, but it really is a very valuable source for travelers. And so you can really expose yourself to folks you might not have gotten, specifically on Yelp, generally on Yelp if they're in more of a travel mode and they're using TripAdvisor for other elements of their trip decisions and their planning. The Google listings piece is a no-brainer because it's the exact same information that you need to keep fresh on Yelp. Those 2 I would call equivalently important, primarily because if you get anywhere you get searched, that listing will come up on Google, which most people are using Google for their search base. And then on Yelp, you need to have that completed as well. We talked about this earlier. It is absolutely crucial that you keep the data fresh, updated, and relevant. And now, like Yelp, for example, has a COVID disclaimer, meaning you can put onto the top of your site, here's the work we're doing to keep you safe while you visit us. And you can call out that special accommodation you've made, separators between the tables, a new ventilation system. You pick however you get there. But this is a way for you to take all that hard-earned work and share it with the people who might consider coming in. Google doesn't really give that specific opportunity in their listing set. So, it's understanding the platforms and what they provide and the value that they provide. Certainly, the Yelp, the Google Business Listings, and TripAdvisor are the three that I think are most relevant.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, and I know that especially when it comes to a response strategy and making sure that you are, again, going back to answering customers' questions or patrons' questions, do you have any recommendations for maintaining those profiles in terms of those conversations?
Yeah, it is imperative. And you can have alerts set up so that if a review is done on your restaurant, you are alerted directly to your phone, and you should respond for everyone, positive and negative. The negatives are obvious. You want to try to salvage a guest by giving them a reason to come back, addressing whatever their concern was. Those are fixable. It's the only way to fix a bad Yelp review is when you reach out to somebody and say, we're going to accommodate you. We want to make this right. And then when they come in, make it right, know who they are. And sometimes they'll go back and amend the review. That's how powerful and valuable communicating with them is. So every single review and comment you want to be aware of and you want to respond to, positive or negative.
Wonderful. Thanks for those recommendations. So moving on, this is our fifth and final tool, and this isn't necessarily a tool per se, but it's kind of the glue that keeps all of these different strategies tied together and glued together. But basically the content that you're providing on all of these different platforms is what people are searching for. It's what they consume, it's what they share online, and it drives traffic using SEO or search engine optimization during searches for your business. So many people are very unaware about how blogs can help or how they can be utilized to become more searchable, and starting a blog can seem a little daunting to some. Andrew, do you have any recommendations for getting started with a blog, or could you talk a little bit more about how that can help somebody get seen and found online?
Absolutely. So when you hear the word blog, most people think, oh my God, I have to write 500 to 1,000 words in a coherent way that somebody can read and learn from. That's not what a blog is. A blog is a collection of thoughts or ideas that are put together in an easy to consume format so that people can then hear a message that you are directing from your blog. That can be done via video. It can be done via meme. It can be done via a long form writing. The point is, a blog is regularized communication. So again, I'm in the sports bar space primarily. So I've encouraged my subscribers to send out a weekly blog about sports from their restaurant. Maybe it's just 5 or 6 gallery pics with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl game was so much fun. We had all these folks rooting against Tom Brady. He still won. What a great day. And you create energy. Or if you're a fine dining establishment, you take a short video of the chef doing some procedure, some way of doing things, and you write 75 words to talk about the chef's background and why this technique's interesting. That's a blog. It's just taking information, packaging it in an easy to consume format, and making it available. What's really important here is integrating your blog. So it's going to be on your website that you want to house it. But when you do an Instagram post, which also has video associated to it, you want to give people the ability to click through. Maybe you take 8 seconds of your video and it ends and say, want to see more? Click here. And then it links to your website. So you're driving people back. You had mentioned SEO. I talked about it earlier. One of the most powerful ways to drive your spot on the listing service is to have people visit your website. The more you're visited, the more you get seen. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Send out an email with a link to your website that takes them to the blog. Post it on your social. on your email, make sure you let them know how to get you on social. It's this sort of holistic approach to doing this, that everything informs the other piece. And it's not hard. You just need to be a little organized.
And what I love is that you're kind of leading into the conversation about how this all ties together, which we'll get to in a second, but that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish, right? Is we're trying to think about our next interaction with our audience, and whether it starts with a blog or a social post, it's all content that's centered around your business, answering those questions for your audience and getting them to the next touch point to interact and engage with you. So great recommendations there. This isn't necessarily something that we're going to get super deep into today, and it's actually kind of a bonus tip for you all today, but to think about paid ads. So this is going to help you amplify your efforts, and paid ads through Facebook, Instagram, Google can give you the ability to reach people that you need to outside of just your organic interaction. So whether you're looking to drive traffic to your website, increase sales, or simply grow your email list, think about potentially setting aside a small budget for testing. And I actually want to pause for a second and just say, don't move to paid ads until you've mastered all of the other 5 tools. This is something that you want to test after you feel like you've mastered those other 5 tools as a part of your strategy. This is just something that you can then use beyond those 5 tools to really amplify those efforts and to boost your visibility on the internet, really. So this is something to think about. Don't feel like you have to do it right away. And we do have more information on paid ads and some best practices around it in what we call the download. So it's a guide that walks you through all of the things that we're talking about today and gives you some more detailed information on that. So I'll give you the link to download the download here in just a few minutes, but wanted to briefly mention paid ads. So let's go ahead and recap the 5 tools that we talked about today in order to help you get found online, which is your mobile responsive website, email marketing, your primary social channel, listing and reviews, and then content that crosses all over these other platforms and channels. Let's talk about how it comes together. And Andrew actually mentioned this before, but this is also a model that we showcase within the download that I mentioned previously, and we'll give you a link to download that. But this is really just a model that describes to you how you connect with new prospects and how you retain existing customers and patrons that you have, but then how you can utilize those existing patrons to supercharge your word of mouth and to drive social visibility to then connect with new prospects. So I'm not going to go into detail with this just because I want to leave some time to answer some questions. But let's walk you through really quick, just by example, what this could look like for you. So we start out with providing a great wow experience, which drives people to a mobile responsive website as a hub for your information for your patrons. Once they find what they're looking for on your website and they want to hear more from you, you can capture their email address from that website and engage with them with a welcome email series using autoresponders. And then you can use email marketing in the future to help provide exclusive, helpful, and promotional content. From there, we can use email marketing to drive them to social to interact with you, engage with you on social media to drive awareness, engagement, and to drive action. And then we can also use listings and reviews to supercharge word of mouth and increase exposure for your business when people are referred to your restaurant. So we want to claim all of our listings and engage with the reviews, like Andrew said, whether good or bad, to build trust and a rapport with that audience. And then we're going to connect with new prospects and engage with existing customers by creating helpful content for our audience to get found and to build those relationships along the way. Whether that's a blog or in your social posts, on your website, that content's going to help bring it all together for you. And then once we've mastered those 5 tools, we can increase our audience to find new patrons by amplifying our efforts with paid advertising, to expose our restaurants, to get more people, grow our email list, and to increase sales. So that gives you an idea of how it all comes together. And again, you can find all of this information in the download. It's making sense for online marketing for restaurants. And we'll go ahead and put that link there in the chat window. But this, you'll see the link here on the screen as well. So go ahead and download that. It's going to talk about all the things that we mentioned today in greater detail as well. And Andrew actually helped us to edit and modify our download specific to restaurants. So you're going to get some really great information in there. And then if you want to try any of these tools and you need help doing so, Constant Contact has all of these tools available to help you get up and running with your online marketing. So you can sign up for a free trial and test out all of these tools by going to constantcontact.com. And again, we will put into the chat window a link to sign up for the free trial if you wanted to give that a try as well. And then Andrew, I know you have a special offer that you wanted to offer our audience today.
Yeah, we understand this content issue, and one of the great ways to build a relationship in the sports bar industry is through fan clubs. So we have an ebook that we built that walks you through step by step how to build your own, terrific fan club base at your restaurant over the full course of the year, multiple sports, really good insights. So it's a free download. You get to meet us that way, and hopefully we'll prove we have other value we can bring.
Wonderful. And I believe that we put that in the chat window too. So if you want to download that, you'll have access to that. So what we're going to do now is we only have a few minutes left, and I apologize. I always try to get to through the content so we can answer as many questions as possible. But let's go ahead and pull up some of the questions that you all wrote in the chat window today so we can go ahead and answer some of those for you. So Andrew, this comes from Jesse. Jesse asks, when talking about email marketing and gaining new customers, do you not need their emails before you send them a message? How do you collect those?
Right. Well, so the specific example we were using was a call to action on the website offering some sort of a special present or gift for giving their email address to us. So in that context, yes, you absolutely have to have their email address, but we are requesting it and willing to give them compensation through some sort of a free offer as a result. But there's 100 ways to do it, and it's so powerful. Anything you do from a giveaway perspective, got to have an email address to win. That's how we notify you. You should be doing anything and everything in your power to collect email addresses. Again, this issue of advertising on social media, the problem with Facebook is the perfect example. You build an audience, you don't get to talk to them unless you pay Facebook for the privilege of your content being in front of the audience you built, which seems backwards and really is. So email is free. You own it already. You have control over it. You can talk to people directly in Moss, specifically about their needs, etc. So these email addresses, whatever it takes, you got to get them from people.
And Constant Contact does have tools to help you create certain types of ads that are specific to growing your email list. So you can target it towards new audiences too. So that's also a really great way to grow that list and to get those subscribers. Okay, so Kenny asks, what is your perspective on whether restaurants should be using third-party online ordering, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc.?
I'm not here to talk poorly of anybody's business, but the idea of if it's online ordering and you're not worried about delivery, you shouldn't go through those guys. They bring you no value. This is just a personal opinion. That the issue is that they control all the data, they control the relationship with the client. It's no longer your customer, and you become the product, not the relationship. And that to me doesn't build your business. So if you're doing online ordering, there are inexpensive plugins. A lot of the websites offer them as a built-in aspect. You might not get the integration with your POS necessarily, but you will get the order. And if you organize yourself in that manner, you're not giving a percentage of your work to somebody else for putting a phone number in front of a customer. If you feel confident that you can get guests to place online orders and you can do it through your website, no reason you should go through a third party, my opinion.
Okay. Great thoughts. How do you, and this question comes from, let's see here, this is Deb's question. She says, do you recommend advertising in local newspapers? So what are your thoughts on guerrilla marketing in general?
Right. It's funny. You have to look at the demographic. When's the last time anybody who's, of the 40 or so folks who are on this call right now looked at a newspaper? It's most of us are no longer consuming them. So their online presences are pretty good. I would say if you know your market and your market is folks that still read the paper, which is primarily folks kind of 60 and older, then yeah, you should be in the newspaper. No question about it. It's engage the audience where they are with the content that they want. So you do that by knowing that that's the audience you want to get. If you're in the penny saver, if you're in the local town newspaper, great. You're going to get a specific person that's interested in that. And if that's who you want to visit or some of who you want to visit, you should put it in. I'm finding that multiple placements for that are much cheaper than they used to be. So don't just buy a single ad, put it together where you run a campaign. Because if single ads are, I think, don't build enough equity with the person being advertised to make it really work. So you got to make kind of a commitment to it to demonstrate that you're in there week in, week out. And people say, oh, I've seen this ad 3 times. I got to go check that place out. They're doing something I think I need to be interested in. But if they see it once, it's harder to really gauge any results.
It's hard to get those results. It's harder to track. I think it's more expensive too. So, but yeah, great. Well, I know we've run out of time. I want to respect everybody's time here. So thank you for all of your questions. For those of you who asked questions and we didn't get to, we will try to follow up with those questions in the follow-up materials. But we wanted to thank everybody so much for being here today and for taking the time to listen to Andrew and I speak to our experience with all of these online marketing channels and tools and strategies to help you really win and find success for your restaurants. And I wanted to especially thank Andrew for being here today and sharing your experience and expertise on the topic. It was an absolute pleasure to have you today. So yes, of course. With that, we hope you all took something away from today and that you can start putting into place today some of these marketing strategies for your business. You've got us along the way, so if you have any questions, contact Constant Contact. We are absolutely here to help you with that. Keep an eye out in your inbox for the recording of this session and any follow-up materials, links to the download, links to Andrew's sports bar guide, things like that. We'll be sending that out. And then please be sure to take the survey. Let us know what you thought about today's webinar. But it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for attending. And we hope to be in contact with you guys soon. Happy online marketing, everybody. Have a good one.